Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how you doing this week?
Well, Tyler, I wish I could say I was chilling, but that would be a lie. I am sweating bullets because it is a hot ass day in the great state of New York. Um,
Hot ass day, more like a hot ass almost a week.
yeah, but today is especially hot, and I'm not a Facebook fan of it, not the slightest.
I'm all about hot weather, but even this is a bit too much.
Oh yeah, a little too much for my liking.
Well, you know who's also not chilling? You know who's not having a good time? Loki. Yeah.
Why not?
Well, he found out he's
A variant?
yeah, he's a variant. His existence is predetermined. His life is a lie, basically. But
Well,
yeah, we're talking about the new Marvel Studio show because up until next week when Black Widow comes out, all they've released is shows.
correct, which isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. So we got Loki, first half of the season. So first three episodes, full spoilers, what we liked and like what we think the second half of the season will go, and then obviously a month from now we got the season recap. So yeah, turns out Loki stealing the Tesseract in Endgame. Turns out he wasn't allowed to do that, and he gets immediately arrested for it.
Yep, pretty much by
Um,
someone called the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. And who doesn't like a little bit of authority? You know what I mean?
with one of its top agents being, is it Mobius or Morbius?
I think it's Mobius
Mobius,
because
yeah.
I think Morbius is
Well, that's Matrix.
no, that's Morpheus. Morbius is
Oh, the
Jared Leto
vampire.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's Jared
vampire.
Leto now.
So many names sounding similar. But anyway,
Yeah,
Owen Wilson, the most lovable guy in Hollywood, is playing one of their top agents.
yeah, one
And
of the most wow roles you could ever imagine.
so far, half season in, the wow counter is at 0.
Yes, and I'm afraid it'll stay at zero. But that is
Um,
not what we are talking about here
mhm.
today. I will let you continue, Tyler.
Yeah, so he's one of the top agents. His job is to hunt down the variant that's killing all the agents. Turns out it's another Loki, and he needs Loki's help to hunt down this Loki. So,
Yes,
Mike, we're half season in. Shit's getting weird. What
it
do you
definitely
think?
is. Well, I'm digging it. Um, Once again, Marvel is taking a deep dive into mental health, at least in the first episode.
First
Haven't
episode,
really
yes. Yeah.
haven't really touched on it since, which isn't bad. But I think the first episode is probably one of the greatest season starters we've seen in the Marvel shows. I think it's way better than the Falcon season premiere or WandaVision season premiere. I think they
Agreed.
kicked it off. They had a right speed to it, right tone. They explained enough to kind of let you know like where the show is heading without giving too much away while making it interesting and not just an exposition fest. So far, I'm a huge fan. I mean, the acting is on point, but let's be honest, the acting really hasn't been a letdown in any of these shows, honestly. That's
Well, I think
that's
Tom
one
Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, that chemistry,
that's a
working
great pairing.
perfectly. Because here's the thing, for the other two, they already had chemistry, they had a working relationship in the movies and all that. But this is
Yeah.
brand new
Oh,
pairing,
yep.
and they're killing.
Yes, they are. One of the I think still after, the three episodes I've watched, I still think my favorite moment is Loki going through the entirety of his determined life, according
Yes,
to the TVA. Seeing all the chaos that he's caused, all the people he's hurt, learning that his mother dies and he wasn't there to protect her because of actions he took in New York. So that's actually very fresh to him because this is a Loki that was pretty much just arrested for invading New York with an army of the Chitauri. So that's pretty fresh. And then you also have those nice moments of Thor saying, Loki, I thought the world of you, but you know, you're you and I'm me. And then in the end, them reconciling right before his, I guess you could say, timely death in Avengers Infinity War. And then Thor not trying to get off the ship, but just crying over Loki's body. And, Tom Hiddleston's acting throughout that entire scene makes it even more intense and just kind of great because that's a scene where, you could have an actor trying to portray emotion or even blank faced and that scene could get murky real quick, but that scene was on point.
no, 100% agree. I think the the first episode, is one of the best episodes of all the shows they've released so far.
Yes.
But a highlight of that is the ending with Loki basically getting the spark notes of what the rest of his life should be.
Yes.
But that does lead into an interesting character development for him. So obviously, the Loki we knew for 20 plus movies, he got all the proper development and then died. This Loki is coming fresh off being a raging asshole in the first Avengers to the first to second episode kind of felt like it was speed running the development. Now, obviously, he's not like the anti-hero kind of nice guy from Thor Ragnarok at the beginning of
Yeah,
Infinity War.
he's a little different, but that also kind of goes into my other theory. Because you know how when Loki was using the scepter to mind control people, he like all their eyes turned like this kind of like bright blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the first Avengers movies, Loki's eyes are actually a bright blue compared to every other movie he's been in. So that kind of gives me a theory that maybe he was also mind controlled to some sense.
I think so too. Because if you think about it, yeah, like you mentioned, the eyes is a good catch because whenever they viewed Hawkeye's eyes, like they were blue.
And
But
same with Stellan Skarsgård's character, Eric Selvig.
if you remember the argument scene on the helicarrier, none of the Avengers are grabbing it except Hulk at the end, but they're all next to it and they all start to get more aggressive and angry at each other for no reason. They're just standing next to it. Meanwhile, Loki's holding it 24/7.
True.
So, obviously, yes, he's a god. They're humans, but actually, no. Even Thor was starting to get a little cocky, and he was standing next to it. And he's a god too.
Yeah. Well, at that point in the universe, Thor was just kind of cocky to begin with because he's coming right after the first movie.
Like, if it amplified what they were currently feeling, Loki at the time was currently feeling angry and vengeful after what happened in the first Thor movie. So, of course, when he's holding it, that's going to be, magnified tenfold. So
very true.
The fact that he hasn't held it for a while, he's chilled out a bit, considering the situation he's in.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. But yeah, it's interesting. Where are they going to go with this Loki
version?
And like,
yes.
Where does he end up?
This is will he cross paths with Thor again at some point? Who knows?
True. But I'm saying, like, is he ever gonna make it to the main or the prime time? Sorry, sacred timeline. I was trying to find the right word.
Yeah, I mean, will they ever reinsert him? I doubt it, because then he'll probably murk up the timeline again and stopping his death from Thanos.
Before we get into our theories,
let's continue with.
Yeah, I think we do have to give a shout out to the pacing.
The pacing's pretty good. Minus the final episode or the third episode, pacing was a little off.
Yeah, but if there's one episode where you got to slow it down because obviously the bombshell at the end of the second one is it's a female Loki.
Yeah.
Obviously for the third one, you got to develop that. Who the fuck are you? Where'd you come from? And while we didn't get all the answers,
we got a few.
We got a few. It does set up, I think, pretty good the second half of the season. But still, overall, the pacing is a lot better than WandaVision, and still better than Falcon and Winter Soldier. Because WandaVision was very much stop, start.
It was very slow in the beginning, then it picked up, and then it kind of, Whereas I feel like Falcon was a little rushed, if anything.
Yeah, Falcon the script could have been tighter, or you could add another episode or two. But this right now, I don't feel it's rushed.
Yeah, they're doing it pretty well, I have to say.
Like, there's some exposition scenes and all that, but again, I'm letting that slide. You introduced a whole new organization, a whole new idea of how this universe works. There's going to be some exposition scenes.
Yeah, of course.
And also, besides the pacing, the tracking one shot at the end of the third episode, I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see some good long takes. It's always a very smart move because it keeps you engaged through what's actually happening without skipping a beat.
I always like how I can't tell. Like, I don't notice it at first, but when I know, it's like, oh, wow, the camera hasn't cut in a while. And then you're like, oh, they're doing a one shot.
Yeah. Kind of like what James Wan was trying to do with that one fight scene in Aquaman. Like, there was a bunch of long takes, but it was great tracking shots that gave you scale of the action and you knew exactly what was going on and where.
Mhm.
But I digress. We're talking about DC and a Marvel show.
We always find a
Some,
way to put DC in.
of course, we have to. Got to give them their shout outs when we can. One of the things I don't know if I'm quite a fan of is kind of how much of a backseat role Owen Wilson has taken. It kind of seemed like he was going to be Loki's main guy he's going to be
I
with.
think
But
he
after the
still is going to be. I think the third episode is more of an anomaly
okay,
because the
because
first two episodes, he's a main character.
kind of, but then you get to the end of like towards the middle of the second episode, and Loki's kind of immediately broken up with him and goes to the one who pretty much wants to kill him.
Well, I think the next episode is going to be, well,
A
clearly as the
return.
planet's being destroyed, how does he get back to the TVA? How does he get back to Mobius?
Well, that's another theory we have. Well, that I have.
You don't think he gets there?
No, I think he does,
Okay.
but I have a different theory for that. But we'll get into that after.
Okay. No, I mean,
Um,
I understand your concern, but if there's like one episode where he takes a back seat and this episode 3 was the only episode, then that's fine with me. Like,
but I feel like it was kind of 2 episodes at this point.
see, I feel the first 2 episodes he was pretty much a main character. All right, fine. If you want to say like the last 20 minutes of the second episode, he appeared less and less.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about a show that's only like 40 minutes realistically.
Yeah, but like they had to set up the second Loki, which they did. We had the episode dedicated to her, so now it's get everyone together. Let's knock out the rest of the show.
True.
It's just where he is, because like yes, we're starting to see that he looks like he is a guy from the mid-90s that loves a jet ski, but he doesn't know that, and he just goes with the flow of what the TVA says. So it's not like he can join Loki in what happened in episode 3.
That's true. And we also needed to have a little bit of Loki time with his female counterpart, so
Exactly.
we can get a nice moment where it looks like they're starting to become attracted to each other, which is a little weird.
I mean, look, if there's someone who's going to go screw themselves and is so in love with themselves, it is Loki.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'll give you that.
He is. If there's one thing if that's guaranteed, no matter which variant Loki is, he loves himself so much.
Yes, he does. An interesting thing, I don't know if I like it or dislike it, is how useless they've made the Infinity Stones because they're powerful off the TVA, but
Well,
in the TVA they're useless.
in the TVA they're useless. I don't like if Mobius brought the Tesseract with him or the Time Stone with him to a location. I assume he'd be able to use it.
Yeah, it's possible.
But
who knows if he could actually use it?
true.
But someone could use it.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because past Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and obviously all we knew about the greater power was the Infinity Stones. But
yes,
if you look at it from Marvel's point of view, they now need to build out the next 10 to 15 years of movies and universe. So
yeah,
this is kind of like this is a classic story. This is a classic video game story or a movie trilogy. You got to move up to the next boss, right? The next big guy. And we don't know who that is yet. But when you do that, you do need to be like, yeah, everything you just faced is big, but it's not that big. So the TVA hints at that. It's like, I mean, we control all of time, by the way. And yeah, when you come here, all these stones are useless. I know people have died over, millions of people have died over these stones, but they're useless. They're paperweights here.
yeah, which is kind of interesting because it puts things in a very different scale. Because when we're talking about someone who can wield all the Infinity Stones and snap half the people out of existence, that's a pretty big deal. And then now all of a sudden, yeah, they're nothing special.
True. But I mean, the timekeepers. What is up with those timekeepers? I do find it funny that they have to approve the timeline, keep approving parts of the sacred timeline, and that's what's supposed to happen. So it's very interesting how they were okay with Thanos doing the snap. They were okay with the universe being shit for 5 years, and then everything being brought back. It's like when you think about it like that, it's like, why would they be okay with that? And I do like
Yeah,
they brought up, like, Loki brought that up, like, during his trial or whatever. It's like, oh, I take it once, you arrest me. Look at them jumping back and forth 3 times to get all the stones. It's like, oh, that's proved.
yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. Like, why would they approve that version rather than
Hmm.
anything else?
Like, that's what's
Which
supposed to happen. Him sidestepping away is like, no, no. Like, all right.
which which raises very interesting questions. Like, who are they to judge? I guess.
Well, they're the sacred timekeepers.
Oh, yeah, I see that. But
Also, before we get into
regardless,
series, I gotta give a shout out to Loki. Straight up as a character, he gets teleported to Mongolia thousands of years ago. First thing he does, he tries to take him over.
yep. Another interesting thing was that he was what was it, JB Hooper or whatever?
Cooper.
Cooper, yeah. That was an interesting thing because no one ever caught that guy.
And now we know why.
Yeah, it's fucking Loki, which is
Well,
essentially useless because all the money just disappeared. But I guess it was more of a
it's more of a bet, you know.
yeah, let's just see if I can do it type of thing.
Well, actually, maybe that money is worth more in Asgard because it's rare.
I doubt it. It's pieces of paper where Asgard has a city built on gold at that point.
But do they have a city built on paper? Checkmate.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Odin's library is just written on American dollars.
Yeah. See, Loki's being a good son and getting him some paper to write on.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right. Well, let's go
What's
to
something
theories.
that actually, let me ask you, what's something that you weren't really a fan of, or something that you aren't the biggest fan of? Because I feel like we haven't really said anything negative about it.
Okay. Fair enough. I would say, obviously, it's kind of dependent on. It depends on how they wrap it up, but, and I guess it's kind of a negative. But my main concern is, and this is from the previous shows, how will they handle this? Because right
Yeah,
now they have me. I'm really curious about. I have all these questions, but, like, how do they deal with the timekeepers? How do they deal with the TVA? Because I feel at this point it needs to be an exciting ending. It needs to be a game changer for the universe. Like, what happens here affects other stuff.
well, yeah, because the other theory is what happens here is going to influence the multiverse,
That's what I'm hoping.
which I feel like it kind of has to, because I don't think the TVA would be very approving of
Everything Doctor Strange does in his next movie.
and Spider-Man for that matter.
Yeah.
So
That's more of my main concern. Actual small nitpick. I'm not the biggest fans of the TVA costumes, specifically the armored guards. I think they look a
it's
little cheap, but
yeah, and their weapon is a stunning rod. They don't really have any guns.
uh, I mean, I guess when you have a stun rod that just disintegrates you, I guess you don't need guns.
Yeah, but you're telling me there wouldn't be some good times to need a long range weapon that also has the same power to disintegrate someone? Because if you can do that in a rod, I'm sure, and you have
Couldn't they just go
all
back in time to
you
that
have
location and then just pop out and no, stab him?
yeah, they could, but at the same time, we all know the TVA is not the stealthiest motherfuckers out there.
No, they're no stealth. They're very much brute force in their tactics.
Which makes sense why they use more of a melee weapon.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you're telling me you can't put that technology in something that'll shoot the same type of thing, or even on a smaller scale, maybe disintegrate a body part.
I mean, you bring up a good point. Like, yes, they can always just jump around time to where they're right next to them, but, like, you wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't think ahead of it.
Yeah, like
Like, it's melee only.
because let's be honest, if there was a sniper and they caught up to female Loki, I'm pretty sure a sniper could probably pop her if she was in
If
her.
they could get the jump on her.
Yeah,
You know, a sniper would be a good thing for her because she can only mind control people when she touches them.
correct. So unless she was using someone else's body, she's not really going to get away from a fucking sniper shot. See, we're going into one of those things where if I was the head of the TVA, they probably would win.
Well, it's a good thing you're not in charge of the TVA.
Yeah, otherwise the episode would be, or the series would be very short. But I digress. Let's get into something a little bit more interesting. Let's talk about some theories. Tyler, give me a theory you got of where this show is going.
All right, so clearly by the end of episode 3, the Loki we know wants to take over the TVA, and the female Loki wants to
Destroy it.
destroy it. I think it's gonna be destroyed. I
I'm
think
gonna agree with that.
I think male Loki will understand that it's too dangerous to be kept running the way it is. I assume they'll meet the timekeepers at some point, and it's destruction in the season finale. Because again, it's these people that keeps the sacred timeline in check. With this destroyed, that leaves Spider-Man open to have the other Spider-Man jump in. That way, we're not wondering why isn't anyone stopping this. And then Doctor Strange and
His
Scarlet Witch.
multiverse. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I also do think, and this is going further down this path. This is the true kick-off of Phase 4. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange will continue it, but Ant-Man 3, the main villain, is Kang the Conqueror, and he hates people who messes with time.
Yeah, because wasn't he a timekeeper at one point? If the comics are accurate,
maybe. All I know is that he hates people messing with time. He goes after them specifically. Well, let's see. Ant-Man, all he does is messes with time in Endgame, and now you have by that point the movie comes out, Loki's messed with time, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. So I think Kang is going to be an Avengers villain. Like he will show up in Ant-Man, but they won't stop him there.
As Beck once said, he will be an Avengers level threat.
Yeah. So that's my deep theory, I guess, going over the next 2-3 years.
Okay.
What do you got?
I'm going to start with a smaller theory. I think Loki's got the time stone.
You think he snuck one in his pocket when he left?
I think so.
What
because makes you... I think it's a little too much of a coincidence that he pretty much allowed himself to get Leonidas out of that airplane and happened to fall on his ass to break the thing.
Oh, I agree with you there. I don't think it's actually broken.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And if it is actually broken, I think he might have the time stone to kind of reverse it.
All right, my question to you then is, let's say it's legitimately broken and you have the time stone. Do you think that's what he does in the next episode? Like he was waiting until the last possible moment to see if he can get out without using it. But now as he sees with the ship blown up.
And also I think it was a thing about seeing if he could trust Sylvie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big thing to do with it too. Like if he had fully broken it, how would she react?
True.
Like would she just go right away and kill him because now she's screwed, or would she try to work with him to find a way back out, which she proved that she did.
He does like to say he's 10 steps ahead. So
correct. So I think it's either it's not broken and that was just a trick because he's shown that he does a lot of tricks. He's a trickster, as True. Matt Damon said.
And it's pretty big coincidence. Like he Sylvie wakes up, he's very, very drunk, gets thrown out. Turns out being thrown out of a train really wakes him up, and he's pretty sober going forward.
Yeah, well, I won't really go too big on that because as Guardian physiology is similar to humans, if adrenaline kicks in and they have adrenaline
but I mean, like afterwards when they're sitting down talking, it's not like he's slurring his words or tripping over himself. I get it in the fight, that's fine. But like when he's thrown out, hey, it's not like he's drunk at all.
Yeah, but then you go kind of back into adrenaline. Adrenaline will wake someone up even if they're drunk, essentially.
Okay.
I mean, adrenaline will wake someone up if they're on a fucking heroin high, I guess you would call it.
So I got another theory, kind of a sad one, but I don't think Mobius makes it.
Yeah, he might not. But then again, he might.
I think he gets, well...
He might. We just might see him in a post-credit scene use a time stone to go back to the 90s and have a jet ski. And that'll be the last scene we see is him riding a jet ski.
I mean, if the last we see of him is that, then I'll be fine with that. But like, I feel like if the TVA is destroyed, season finale, what is the purpose of him then? Working with Loki, eh,
I think it's more just kind of he's a stepping stone
yeah.
essentially,
Who knows?
because
Maybe Loki gets all the variants back to their timelines.
that's possible.
So for Mobius, it would be in the 90s on a jet ski.
Yeah. Let's see. What's another good theory I have? I don't think Sylvie's actually Loki,
That's a good one. That wouldn't surprise me, but yeah.
because so far we know she's adopted.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know that she's a frost giant.
Nope.
That was
She's
never said. She's clearly not an Asgardian.
yeah, she's very light on details about Odin or Thor at all.
Yes, kind of like they weren't a part of her life,
Mm-hmm.
as well as her mother not being there, because she says to him, "Oh, you were a prince, must have been nice." So, correct me if I'm wrong, but a variant of Loki, according to the timelines, would be he was always going to be a prince of Asgard.
Yeah, yeah, you actually brought up a good point. That
Whether he looks the same or not is besides the fact that was kind of always his thing, and where he varies definitely changes, but he would still always kind of have that.
yeah, he would be royalty, and clearly she's not. She never had that.
Correct.
But then that makes you wonder if she's a clear variant in that case. Shouldn't the TVA picked her up?
Maybe, but
Because you have the sacred
there's a thing.
timeline,
She's
and the sacred timeline has Loki as Prince of Asgard, brother to Thor, all that stuff. She has none of that. So even when she was born, or like when she was 2 or 3, and clearly she's not going to have royalty, shouldn't have been like, all right, this is a variant, pick her up.
maybe,
Ooh, what if
but
she worked for the TVA at some point?
I don't think so.
She knows how to use all their time equipment.
Yes, but at the same time, she didn't know her magic didn't work in the TVA building, which
You know what?
implies
That's true.
that she's never been there before. I think she learned how to work their equipment when she kind of mind controlled that one girl who worked for the TVA
Okay, how about this? How about this?
in episode 2.
What if she did work for the TVA, and at that time when she did, the magic worked, but obviously she lost it and left. They enforced no magic, so when she came back, she was like, "Oh, I'll keep using my magic," and she's shocked because she saw that they stopped it.
Maybe, but I feel like that's a pretty big risk for the TVA to take, especially when they have that many Infinity Stones in the place. Someone would definitely get greedy and do something
True, but
before her.
they all seem pretty obedient, and the head people, like the judge and all that, are pretty cocky that they have everything under control.
Yeah.
Our
I,
Loki gave them the
I,
slip 10 minutes into being in the building, running around, right? Like putting the
yeah.
collar on the girl, on the woman, and just, moving the time around back and forth. Like that was 10 minutes in. He's doing this.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I'm not going to say you're wrong because anything's pretty much
I
possible.
mean, I think that's a less likely
But
theory, but
yeah, I think there's someone on the inside feeding her information, though, because how would she know what specific points to target in the sacred timeline if she didn't have an insider feeding her that
not only
information?
that, how did she know where to go directly to see the timekeepers?
Well, they kind of tell you that
How?
in the end of the second episode, or it's the third actually. Sorry, when the was it the third where the girl's like, I told her, and the girl has the dreamers at
Oh,
the end of
yeah,
the
yeah,
second.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the girl told her where to find the timekeepers, which is interesting. Why the fuck would she know? She's just a grunt for.
Mm-hmm. She's just another grunt they kidnapped.
Yeah, so I don't know why she would know, but hey, it helps advance the plot. So so they kind of did say how she would know that, but all the specific points in the sacred timeline that would be the most chaotic, I don't think that girl would even have a clue about that. Which raises another thing, maybe it's Mobius,
Oh,
who is
that'd be a shock.
the inside man, because we already see he's not as he goes with the flow, but you can tell he kind of has disdain for
He doesn't drink the TVA Kool-Aid.
no. He kind of knows it's a little off, which is why he was so keen on recruiting Loki, while everyone else just kind of wanted to terminate him because he would be such a big threat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think framing it that it's another Loki increase the chances of this Loki's survival to help out with the mission. Because why would he want to recruit someone who's known to pretty much backstab and be a trickster? Clearly, they could find someone else that could help.
Well, clearly, the next episode going over Loki is going to be very interesting because we're going to have all our theories, and we're going to see how much of it was it right, or we were completely off and they went a different direction.
Absolutely. That's enough about what we think about the show. So far, I'm saying you guys need to definitely give this a watch.
Definitely.
It's really good. But as always, we want to know what you guys think. What are your theories about Loki? What did you like about the show? Shit, tell us what you didn't like about the show. Are we praising it too much? Call us out. As always, let us know at Entertainment Expansion. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're wondering about the other Marvel shows and you haven't given them a watch yet, feel free to check our previous videos on YouTube or Facebook. We have a full breakdown of what we thought about WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As always, thank you for listening. Have a great day.